You are listening to the Why Smart Women podcast, the podcast that helps smart women work out why we repeatedly make the wrong decisions and how to make better ones. From relationships, career choices, finances, to faux fur jackets and kale smoothies. Every moment of every day, we're making decisions. Let's make them good ones. I'm your host, Annie McCubbin, and as a woman of a certain age, I've made my own share of really bad decisions. Not my husband, I don't mean him, though I did go through some shockers to find him. And I wish this podcast had been around to save me from myself. This podcast will give you insights into the working of your own brain, which will blow your mind. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I'm recording and you are listening on this day. Always was, always will be, Aboriginal land.
Back to Monday, the best night of the week. That's because it's time for this week's episode of RFRX, your prescription for coping. I'm Kara, I'll be your host, and I have with me returning co-host Rob Palmer. Rob, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I survived the storm of the century. Well, storm of the decade anyway. I don't know how it was in Texas, but in New Jersey, we got about 12 inches of snow, and it was 10 degrees or so below freezing. So I was like, shaking that the power was going to go out, but luckily survived it.
Wow.
What happened near you?
Also, we got some snow. It was just maybe 2 inches total accumulated where I was, but Texas is closed now for inclement weather and will be for a couple of days.
Can I just add to the weather chat?
Yes, Annie, please.
I'm in Sydney, Australia, and not so much here, but in South Australia today, because it's Tuesday here, lunchtime. It's going to be 45 degrees Celsius. So absolutely stinking hot day.
I still can't do Celsius in my head. Is that like 200 degrees Fahrenheit?
No. Otherwise, everyone would be dead. It's like
it's close to 100 though, right?
It's over 100.
Yeah,
it's over 100 degrees. It's really hot.
Wow.
Like apparently, we had it here last week. It got up to 43 here in Sydney, and it's like you walk outside and it's just like walking into an oven.
Oh my goodness!
So sorry about your storm.
Is full of giant spiders as well. I've never been to Australia, so I'm so sorry if I'm making a stereotype.
And apparently, as we heard,
afraid of the spiders.
But as we heard in the show, real threats like sharks are killing people. Like we could talk about that later.
Right?
It's true.
Yeah. We have so much to discuss. Okay, well, let's get into it then. For anybody who's new here, Recovering from Religion offers hope, healing, and support to those struggling with issues of doubt and non-belief. And RFRX is our weekly show where we host guests like Annie who discuss topics that are relevant to folks in the RFR community. And today we are talking about Why Smart Women by Spirituality and Wellness, featuring our guest, Annie McCubbin. And as a reminder, RFR is a nonprofit organization, and our shows are designed to generate conversation and engage our powers of reason. All of our guest speakers are presenting their own views. People of any political or religious affiliation are welcome to participate in the show, and this is a safe space for members of the LGBTQ+ community. We ask that everyone please keep the comments civil. If you disagree with someone in the chat, do so respectfully and respect the speaker, the hosts, the other guests, and yourself. And if you have any questions for our guests tonight, please drop those in the chat, whether you're joining us in Zoom or in YouTube, and we'll collect those and ask as many as we can at the end of the program. So with that, Rob, would you care to do the honors of introducing Annie?
Absolutely. So Annie is an actor, author, podcaster, and corporate trainer committed to elevating the quality of critical thinking in business and in life. She focuses on helping women avoid being conned by new age nonsense and self-help platitudes. She became deeply irritated that the benefits of critical thinking are overlooked while new age nonsense and pseudoscientific health offerings are widely consumed. So one day she began tapping out the story of Kat. We'll have to find out if that's the Kat who we've had on RFRX. And Why Smart Women Make Bad Decisions was published in 2020. The follow-up, Why Smart Women Buy the Lies, was launched in May 2023. Annie lives in Sydney's northern beaches with her husband and their enormous groodles. She can be found at her local gym most days, which gives her tacit permission to drink quite a lot of wine. She would like it if many women, and others I presume, read her books, and if that made things better for them. Welcome to our show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, I have just right off the top, we've got to get two things out of the way. First of all, cheers. I love your choice in beverage, and we'll be joining you. And second of all, tell us about your Groodles. What is a Groodle?
Oh, okay. So it's lucky you've asked that, because at any time one of them may come in to the studio,
yes, please,
with a ball in their mouth, because it's been minutes since I've thrown it for them. So Groodles are a combination. They're a golden retriever poodle. Oh. So, and the reason we have them is because we are an allergic family. Oh. And they don't shed. Yeah. Amazing. So they're friendly. They like retrieving things, but they actually don't shed. So it's really, really good.
Wait, how is this possible? I mean, people who are allergic to cats get the cats with no hair, but I assume your dogs have hair. So how do they not?
They do. Well, they have to get shorn. Like, you have to shear them.
Wow. So we've artificially evolved them so they can't lose the hair themselves, and we have to do it.
Yeah, they don't. Wow. Yeah, they're just like sheep. And then we have to take them to a groomer, like once every 3 months. They hate that. They get into the back of the groomer's truck and they shake and they tremble, and they go in looking like mythical beasts, and they sort of come out. We think the black one, I'll show you to them later because they're desperate to come in here. We think that the black one, when she's shorn, looks like Dobby the house elf. It's not a good look. Sorry, I've got to be frank about it. But she's quite odd looking, but she's a good dog. She's a good girl. Yeah. And I wrote,
all dogs are good dogs.
Yeah, I know, all dogs. I love dogs. In my first book, I had a cat in it, which is weird because I'm allergic to cats. But in the second book, I managed to write a Groodle in. Yeah.
Amazing.
Called Porridge. Yeah.
Well, I hope we get to see one of these mythical beasts later on in the show or the hangout.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's one other thing that I want to ask you about, which was in the bio. I didn't know until it was in the bio. Actor. So yeah. What have you acted in? What's that about?
Well, a lot. So I trained as an actor. I'm married to an actor. And probably for the first, I don't know, many, many years, the first 20 years of my career, I just acted. I did a lot of television. I did a lot of theatre. I directed. And then somewhere along the way, we had children. And I don't know about the States, but acting is not very stable here. It's not. Oh. It's a lot of fun, but it doesn't provide you with a lot of income. So we diversified and we took acting principles into the corporate sector and began sort of taking theatre principles to people in business to help them communicate better.
Oh, fascinating.
Then I thought, sorry, do go on.
You're the second podcaster that I know from Australia, the other being a former guest here, Richard Saunders, and he's an actor too, which is interesting.
Yes, and Richard and I have actually appeared on the same shows. Oh. Isn't that so fun? It's a small industry here. A bit like Britain, you watch a British show and it's pretty just... It's
all the same actors. Yeah.
It's 10 actors and they just recycle through every single show, but they're so good they sort of get away with it. And also the good thing about British and Australian actors is we haven't had massive amounts of plastic surgery and Botox, so we can sort of move our faces, which is just so excellent.
Seems like that would be important to good acting.
Right. Being able to move your face and express something that's not just surprise is a real bonus.
I love it. That's hilarious. Yeah. I remember the first time I had my eyebrows plucked, which we're about to go off on a tangent here. I resisted for years. I was like, I don't need to reshape my eyebrows. This is just not something that is meaningful to me. But I was dating someone at the time that it was just very important to them that I shape my eyebrows a different shape. And I went and I had it done. And I was like, now I just feel like I look constantly surprised. I don't know why this is regarded as attractive.
I know. It's very big now. Eyebrows are really, really big. I don't know why either. But on the on the acting front, I think that acting, being the industry that it is, actors are fundamentally very powerless. We are at the behest of a casting agent or, a director that knows you. You're very, very, you don't have much agency. So I think, therefore, actors have a strong propensity to believe in magical thinking, that, to have lucky charms, or, if they do a certain thing, it's going to cause a certain reaction. And, this notion that if I have a crystal and I hold a crystal, it's going to mean that I'm probably going to get the audition. There's a very strong undercurrent of magical thinking running through not all actors, but I really, when I was heavily in the industry, you'd have actors come through and, get rid of the bad juju in the theatre by waving sage or something, or, they'd wave something, makeup artists would wave something over you. I was like, oh, get away from me from that. I just want to concentrate on getting on stage. But I think it sort of got me interested to some degree in how pervasive magical thinking is in the human brain, which sort of sent me in a direction of investigating critical thinking and reading behavioral economics and reading the social sciences. It sort of sent me in that direction because I think the correlation between powerlessness and believing in something that has agency over your life there's a very strong correlation, in my opinion.
I never heard about that in that field, but the one I always hear about is in sports, especially if it's a competitive sports where you're playing against another person. Like if you're the batter and you have to worry about the guy pitching at you, there's all these people who have superstitions about everything.
Yeah, it's exactly the same, I think. And I always find that really super surprising, is that the praying or the holding of some crystal or some lucky sock or whatever, or praying specifically that God is going to enable you to win, which also then means that God has to smite somebody else and make them lose. And always
right.
An interesting premise, right?
And all the fans pray for their team, and the other team's fans are praying. So, is it does God count the number of fans, or how many times the year?
I think I know some people who would believe that, Rob, that will say, I forgot to watch the game and so they lost. And I'm not sure if they're really serious about that or not, but I think some people might be or they have to do a certain thing, or their team will lose.
And I get that sort of strange Nick. Oh, what's that?
Balloons.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
You must be on a Mac.
It's magic.
Was that me? No.
Yes. It was reacting to your
balloons
your
coming up for no reason. Anyway.
I love it.
I'm jealous of that.
To more.
I'm jealous of that. And we always discuss this in the Hangout. There's somebody who can do that, make all sorts of gestures with their hands, and that happens. And I can't do it because I'm not on a Mac.
Try like this. Can you make hearts?
Yeah, make a heart. Make a heart. You'll probably get something.
Look at how useless I'm at making a heart.
It's got to be a good heart.
I could have rehearsed that.
Not working. That looks like a heart. It's not working. I don't know.
Okay, maybe it only does it
Harrison, stand down. So good. I was going to say, I do get the cognitive notion of thinking you have to concentrate on something in order to be in control of it and staying safe. Because I know on an aeroplane, and I've had to watch my own thinking about this, I think if I relax and forget about the fact I'm on a plane, I will somehow cause it to fall to the ground.
Ooh.
Like I alone, with my focus on the aircraft.
And you didn't even take your phone off airplane mode or anything. You just didn't think hard
just in
enough.
Case. So I watch myself. I mean, I've got witness over my thinking, but I get that notion that if I didn't watch a game, then they lost. Somehow I'm responsible. It's really strange. Our brains are so strange, right?
Yes. I have another good friend who was a previous guest on RFRX, Dr. Snyder, who had a much better trick to use when you're on an airplane and you're worried about it crashing. She's a psychologist. And she said, instead of, trying to think it to safety, distract yourself by doing something that occupies your brain, like
100%.
counting by sevens up to 100 backwards, or 200, and it will interrupt your brain from feeling those kind of fearful and anxious emotions because you're concentrating on something else. And it definitely really works well for me.
We definitely know that the fear is arising in the limbic system part of the brain, and that old story, that narrative. And that if you interrupt it by doing something in the prefrontal cortex, your brain can't do both things at once. I, for instance, am claustrophobic in lifts. I sound quite wacky, don't I? I'm actually fine, but I just sort of let you know I'm claustrophobic in lifts, and I have moved into an apartment with a lift. And the way I manage that is by doing exactly what you say. So if there's any sort of hesitation, if I hit it and it does that, I count backwards from 100 by sevens. It's interesting.
And just to be clear for the American audience, you don't mean in high heels. You mean in an elevator.
Oh, no. I mean in an elevator.
Yeah.
Yes. We have an international audience. Sometimes we have to translate our different versions of English.
So a lift is I'm going to wear lifts in my shoes to look taller?
Yeah.
Okay. I might invest in that. That sounds really good because I'm quite short.
Well, there you go.
Okay, that's a good idea. Thank you.
But no one will ever know on the podcast.
No, we don't know now because I'm sitting down. It's awesome.
It's great.
You can't tell.
Not even a little bit. So that's actually really interesting. That kind of makes me want to know, and I bet our listeners do too. Did you grow up with any kind of training in religion or spirituality or critical thinking, or did you just kind of arrive at this through the course of your life and experiences, like you mentioned when you became interested?
It's funny. It's such a good question because I often wonder if the extremely pragmatic thinking and disbelief or in anything sort of magical or my eschewing of religion, I wonder if it's in the gene. So I grew up in a household where my mother was Jewish. So we had not really super Jewish. Her parents were super Jewish. They had immigrated from Poland and Russia. So they were super Jewish. She just had the high holy days. We went to synagogue on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, etc. And she, interestingly enough, against the fervent wishes of her parents, married my father, who was a Gentile. And this caused a very big ruction in the family. Not only so was he a Gentile, but he was a used car salesman. So he was like, what is my beautiful Jewish daughter doing marrying this Gentile used car salesman? And at the time, get this, she was engaged to a Jewish diamond merchant. So they had this massive engagement party, and they bought in a parquet floor and had a band. And anyway, so she was engaged, and then she went to a ranch, a place where you ride horses. Yep. And she met my father, who was very charming. And then she went back and said, I can't marry George, the diamond merchant. I want to marry Bill. And so they did. They got married, and they had to have a civil ceremony because no rabbi would marry them. And, so I grew up, and my father had a very strong Methodist upbringing. So four times every Sunday they had to go to church, very strong Methodist. So there was the whole, I think, you're not meant to have much pleasure. There's no dancing or any of that. So, But he eschewed, he said he sat there at church on a Sunday going, this is just crap. So there was no part of his brain that sort of was inculcated into it. And then I grew up in this family, and my brain's like my father's brain. I used to sit there in synagogue going, this is just a heap of crap. I don't believe this for 1 second. And so it just never got into my brain. So I've never had to deprogram myself. I don't think that God is watching me. I just never believed it. Interesting, right? Was my mother to the day she died was very Jewish in of herself.
Let me ask you that part, because a lot of times this comes up. I also do helpline calls, by the way. So I talk to clients who are calling in when they're questioning and doubting their religion. And it often comes up that, I'll tell them they're not the only ones sitting in a pew and not believing it. And it's like, and then the question is, why do people do that? So now that you experience that directly yourself and some family members, why do you think people do that? They'll continue to waste their time going to, this place where they don't believe anything that's being said.
Oh, because I was a child. So I only went until I didn't have to.
But how about did you say it was your father who did that?
Dad never went. Dad went 4 times a day as a child. And as soon as he reached the age of 16, he also said, I'm not going anymore. My mother dragged us along. And then I went and my brother went until such time that we didn't have to. But my husband, I think I was saying before we started this, grew up in a very religious household where his father was a minister. So he lived in a manse and had the pressure on him to behave in the way that is, commensurate with being the child of a minister. So that's been a very different pressure on him. And then he married me.
Did he not believe for a lot of that time?
No, he did believe strongly. And he talked, I think you talked about that notion where sometimes it's an overnight or a moment in time where suddenly you go, I don't believe this. And sometimes it's an incremental process. What term do you use for that incremental process?
Well, so there's deconversion, but also maybe you're talking about deconstruction, which is the one where you're reevaluating all of your beliefs besides the doctrinal ones, the ones you've just accepted peripherally because it's sort of taught in your church, even though maybe it's not scriptural at all.
This would include, I think, things like you've talked about, Annie, about, in the pre-show, we were mentioning things like how sometimes people might get into a relationship or even a spiritual practice due to some belief like, I need to be in a relationship with this man who will teach me something or something like that. And I would think of that as kind of a related belief that might, for some people, have come along with their religious training and upbringing, even though that might not have been explicitly taught in the text. It may be something that was practiced in their church community or that was kind of taught at home that goes alongside the religious teachings.
I think that's right. And I think we have there's a bias called identity protective cognition, whereby I am in a group and the group believes this happens in conspiratorial thinking a lot. So I'm in a group and I may have been struggling to find belonging somewhere else, and now I'm in a group. And the group has held me warmly and I really feel part of something, and it's a nice familial feeling. And then something's going to come into my brain which says this belief system doesn't feel right. But in order to entertain that notion that the belief is perhaps onerous, I then have to disengage from the group where I belong. And that, because we are tribally brained, and it is unsafe for us to stand outside our tribe, I'm going to feel dislocated. I'm going to be abandoned. where do I belong? And so I think what we do is this notion of this drive to belong, which emanates from this emotional part of the brain. I think this part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, just goes into this post-rationalizing, where you're going to sort of dismiss that thought and do a workaround so that you still do believe. You've got the doubt, but it's important that people believe. And to your point about staying in a relationship that is perhaps toxic or downright dangerous, or he's abusive, or he's really angry. This, I'm talking about women. And having a belief system that arcs over the top of you that says, perhaps the universe has sent me this relationship in order to learn something about myself. It's a post-rationalizing, and that means I get to stay in this relationship because the emotional part of my brain doesn't want to leave. And that's my point about so many of these belief systems they muddy the cognitive waters, and they affect your decision making in a way that is often antithetical to a good outcome.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It absolutely does make sense. And it kind of, it's really interesting because the way you describe it so kind of clearly makes it seem like, this ought to be obvious to us that we're sabotaging ourselves, or we're making these decisions based on something that is clearly not working, but it's not that way, right?
It's unconscious. The whole thing about an unconscious bias is it's unconscious. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, Stephen Novella. I love the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. It comes out of America. It's awesome.
Oh, yes. We've had Stephen Novella on the show before.
Stephen Novella is a
Stephen.
god. Yeah. He's just a god.
In the colloquial sense.
Yeah, completely. But he says that we are mysteries to ourselves. And it's right. It's very difficult to unpick, what you are thinking and your decision making, especially, back to the religiosity environment, or perhaps you're in a cult, or you're just in a group of mums that believe that the crystal that they're holding and the supplement they're taking is going to keep them safe. It's very difficult to stand outside that. If everyone's going, no, you've got to believe. Mm. You have to believe. It's not an easy thing to do, which is why I really massively respect people who have gone, well, actually, no, I don't believe this, and I'm now going to stand over here, is a real act of bravery, which is why I admire what you do, because you're obviously providing massive support to people who must just be terrified.
Mm-hmm.
Quite often they are, yes.
Yeah, it can really be destabilizing for people, like you mentioned earlier, kind of feeling like, well, where am I going to go stepping out from this? It can feel like losing your entire support system, and may indeed be losing.
You're losing your support system. You're giving up the idea that you have an eternity after this short life on earth, that you're going to see your dead relatives, which you were trained that you're going to be with. And also the guy in the sky has your back and answers your prayers, or has a plan for you. There's a lot to give up there, and it's definitely an emotional thing.
And I guess that plan links, because as I said, I'm more involved in my sort of activism towards the area of negative spiritual practices. I guess that plan links into that notion of, well, everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or it was meant to be.
Right.
Which is, well, yeah, I mean, it's comforting, isn't it? You lose somebody, something terrible happens.
It could, but there's the other side of it too. Like if you're having bad luck in your life, and I've had calls like this, why does God hate me? Am I not religious enough? Right. Then it's your fault for whatever's going wrong, even though it may be beyond, your scope of doing anything about.
Yeah. Does God really hate your football team? I mean, that could be.
God hates your football team. He picked one, and he knows totally.
Hates the New York Mets. Hates the New York.
Yeah, that you are losers, and that notion of God hates me is strongly, I think, maps on to the notion, which is a lot of the purveyors of spiritual healing, which is if I do the correct, if I manifest properly, if I, do a meditation every day, for instance, if I'm ill, if I have some terrible disease, what I can do about that is organize my thinking. This is a lot of these sort of spiritual notions, and I'm going to say no to the disease, and I'm not going to let the disease infect my body, and I'm going to recover, and I'm going to take, frigging whatever, St. John's wort and vitamin E and vitamin C, whatever it is they're taking that's just completely frigging pointless. But anyway, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to miraculously heal. And maybe even I have found a healing circle, and maybe we'll go on a retreat and we'll sit at a circle and we'll bang some drums and we'll drink some tinctures and we'll meditate, and then I will be well. So at that point, I have eschewed normal medicine because I don't need that. And I have learned why I have created the illness. And then what happens, to your point about God's plan or God hates you, is I don't get better. I don't get better. And guess whose fault that is?
Yeah.
It's my fault.
This is the whole thing about manifesting and the secret and lucky girl syndrome, it's sometimes called, right? If it doesn't work for you, then you're doing something wrong.
You are definitely responsible. Yeah. And that, to me, I find the most disgusting, awful, disturbing, pernicious idea, because then you have people that are very ill. They've eschewed the chance to actually get proper medical care. So they've gone to the oncologist or whatever, and this has happened to people around me, and they've gone, hey, bud, they don't say, then oncologists never say, hey, bud. I'm going to start that again. They say, I'm so sorry, but it's too late and we can no longer help you. And then they go out into the street and they go, well, what did I do wrong? And then the people around them can go, well, you re-chose to keep it, if you'd believed enough. So, and I think that makes us mad. It must make us it must be just such a crazy making thought that my thoughts are continually creating my reality is just mad, right? Because, of course, we live in a random universe and just shit happens.
Yeah, in some ways that's easier to take than the opposite of that, which is what we were talking about. I'm doing something wrong. I'm not religious enough. I don't pray enough. I sinned. Therefore, this is my fault. As opposed to, shit happens.
Yeah, shit happens. Shit happens. And the thing that freaks me out when I think about if I was religious is that, God's looking at me all the time like, ooh, that's just such a horrible thought. Like, get out. Leave me alone. It's like so perverted.
I know that always bothered me too. It was, and they brought it up a lot. I don't know if it was like this for you, Rob, but in the Protestant upbringing, it's always, God is always there. God is everywhere. He always sees you. He's always watching. It's like Santa Claus, but he's not bringing you presents. He's like counting up how many times you've sinned secretly in the dark when you thought no one was looking.
Wow.
It's spooky.
It's really spooky and creepy, isn't it?
Yeah, why is he watching all this?
I don't know.
So,
back off.
I don't know if on your podcast, I've looked at a lot of your titles and have you ever talked about belief in ghosts and ghost hunting, Annie?
Sure.
Okay.
Same thing.
So that's another thing. You believe, or also if you believe in psychic mediums and mediums talk to the dead, hey, I'm here, I'm talking through the medium to you. That means all your dead relatives are watching you all the time too.
Exactly.
It's like
ghosts. I mean, this place is crowded.
Yeah.
I've got all my dead relatives. I've got my parents. I've got my aunt. I mean, they're all here. Plus ghosts because someone died here in this apartment. It's very, very busy.
For real? For real?
Yeah, for real. Someone did. I mean, I don't know. And then it's back to that notion that people walk into a house and go, quickly, I've got to get rid of the bad juju with a bit of frigging sage or whatever. I'm like, I don't believe in it. Just go out. Take your sage and leave me. I'd rather have a glass of wine. So it's that, that belief. And, of course, they're all these purveyors, especially the psychics. I mean, you've had Susan Gerbic on, haven't you? I mean, I love Susan Gerbic.
Yeah, we've had Mark Edward talk about that topic, and recently we had Florio Phantom Files also.
Right.
Yeah.
And Ben Radford. Have you had Ben Radford on?
Yeah.
So these are the people.
And
I know
Richard Tonder.
And Richard, because I'm a member of paid up member of the Australian Skeptics, so I get to sometimes talk at the conferences and sometimes just watch. But that notion of thinking that and having to get someone in to work out why the noise happened, I think it's that the noise happened and the person comes in and goes, it's because Uncle Jerry died and he's unhappy and he's stuck. Where is it between heaven and hell? What's that called?
Purgatory, the Catholic place. Purgatory.
I think they're stuck somewhere and Jerry wants to go but can't, and he's whatever. And that notion of hyperactive agency detection. Do you know about this?
Yeah.
It's so awesome and so relevant.
Yeah, well, tell people what that is.
Yeah.
So hyperactive agency detection is what happens in the brain. So let's just say your forebears, there was a rustle in the bush and then, Johnson, your friend. See, the names today are weird. I don't know why some cave person is called Johnson, but apparently they are. Anyway, Johnson heard the rustle, went, that's just a breeze, and then a lion leapt out and ate him. So he doesn't have any descendants. Whereas next to him, say, was my descendant, and they heard the rustle and went, there's a noise, something's making the noise, it could have agency, it's probably a lion, and they ran. So we are programmed to assume that if something happens, it has agency. So that really kicks into the whole notion of religious and spiritual beliefs, because it's much better and safer. We're programmed to go, there's a bad storm coming, that's the gods. Or conspiratorial thinking is very bolstered by hyperactive agency detection, because something somewhere, it can't just be nothing, someone gets shot. There's, we've got, at the moment, we have conspiracy theorists. I don't know if you have them. I think you do sadly have them in America as well.
Oh yes.
That believe that the contrails are.
Oh, yeah. Contrails, yeah. That's a big one.
Big one. And they're, of course, the government, for some reason, doesn't care about its own relatives, but it's killing us or doing something or infecting us, or I don't know.
Mind control, maybe death, maybe making us have less children, making whatever.
It's making the frogs gay.
It's making the frogs gay.
Right.
And who needs that? Right?
Causing trans people possibly.
Exactly.
So it's just, I think it's much more comforting to believe that there's something with agency. Your car breaks down and you're on your way to a wedding and you kick the car and swear at it because it's the car's fault, right? As if the car has agency. We do it. Hyperactive agency detection really is a cause of a lot of our problems because we don't know what's happening.
I always wonder about animals. We were talking about your dog, and I have cats.
Oh.
And so if I walk into a room that's dark and I flip the switch and the light comes on and they're following me, do they put two and two together? Or do they think, I'm a god? It's because it doesn't come on when they walk into the room. It's
Well, I think it might depend on the dog. My late dog Snow could figure things out like that immediately. He figured out the overhead garage door opener after watching me do it one time and decided he was going to let himself out and just jumped up and hit it.
Whoa, very good.
Whoa, are you kidding?
No, he was an Australian Shepherd and Red Heeler mix.
All Australians are really smart.
They're known for that.
Yeah, they're really, really smart. Wow. I mean, mine sort of correlate of really obvious things. Like if I open the cupboard above the fridge, that means I'm going to get the ball out.
Right.
But you know.
But regarding this, I actually wonder more about other primates, right? So they're not that far different from us. You know, as we had Gutsick, Gibb, and Erica talk about the differences are not, you know, they're one of not a kind, but of magnitude. So, you know, when there's a storm in the jungle, do the other apes feel like that's, you know, giant apes doing it who are in the clouds? I don't know.
Yeah, do you reckon? What do they think? Did you ask them that?
Yeah.
The people that actually know this shit. Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Good question.
I know that ours don't like, well, one of our dogs doesn't like storms. That could be a big dog growling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, the whole hyperactive agency detection, of course, with our forebears.
Yeah.
There was a storm and, you know, the gods were doing, you know, preparing them all.
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably not a step function. It's probably some kind of a, you know, graphical linear thing where different animals with, you know, less neurons don't not have it at all, but maybe have it less than we do.
Yeah. Whereas we have buckets of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know that other animals can develop superstitions in a sense, like, you know, psychologists doing testing on animals that, you know, I'm not sure I regard it as totally ethical, but you think of like, who was it? Some of the earlier ones like B.F. Skinner that would have their sort of conditioning and testing on animals would discover that, you know, chickens might develop what seemed like superstitious behaviors where if, you know, after they performed a certain activity, they received a reward, they would start doing that all the time, or would behave in certain ways that seemed like they thought they were going to influence an outcome by, you know, flapping their left wing a certain number of times or something like that.
Yeah, they were in a cage with a randomized delivery of a food pellet. And because whatever they were doing right before the food pellet came, if it happened a few times, they go, oh, that's why that happened. And then they would just do that over and over and over again. I don't know why the food pellet's not coming out now.
Yeah, they're like, maybe if I just keep flapping my wing or spinning, you know, halfway to the right in a circle, it'll come out again.
I think we do that, don't you? Like flap one arm. And I mean, I think we're, as we know, we're incredibly get very confused between correlation and causation, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is the whole thing with sports figures. Like they have to wear their lucky socks and whatever. They don't change their jersey if they had a good game because the next game, that's going to help them do well again.
Yeah. And the same as actors, you know, they'll wear, you know, they wear a certain thing. I know when I was in my 20s and I was doing a lot of commercials and I did a lot of auditioning, and I had noticed that I kept getting the commercials when I wore a blue denim shirt. So I just kept wearing it. I just kept wearing that shirt.
And, you know, maybe you look really nice in that blue denim shirt and you're getting parts.
To my credit, I looked amazing.
I bet you did.
I did. I just looked incredible in it. So I just kept doing it. And then so we get, you know, we're so habitualized as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the time is going very fast, and I want you to talk about a little bit about your books and podcasts. So, like, you have 2 books. Do you want to talk about a little bit about each of those?
Sure. What would you like to know?
Books.
Just want me to launch.
Yeah. So, Why Smart Women Make Bad Decisions is the first one I heard about. So, what is that? Yeah.
So, Why Smart Women Make Bad Decisions. I wrote that because so many of my friends were making bad relationship decisions, I think, and bad health decisions. And I just felt like I was screaming into the void, I think. So, and I had read a lot of the social sciences and behavioral economics, but they're all by male authors, and they're a little bit dry, not to put too fine a point in it, but they're a bit dry. And as we know, the brain is highly programmed to listen to stories, narratives, and anecdotes, which is sort of why religion works, right? That's why the whole thing works, is because data has no cut through. So the books were full of data talking about how the brain influenced decision making, but it was just sort of very data based. And I had been very aware of these anecdotes that were driving my friend's behavior. So I thought, I'm going to write a book that has a narrative arc and it's comedic and around one woman. So what I did was I wrote each chapter, and she encountered something, she encountered a new diet that she'd come across because she thought she was really fat, or that she has a very bad relationship that goes through the entire book with a man who's highly spiritual, but is awful and inculcates her into this sort of thinking. And he was based. Am I going into too much detail? Please stop me at any given point.
No, we invited you on to tell us about this. Please do.
Okay. So I had been in a relationship with a man who was, very yogic. He was a yoga teacher, very spiritual. My body is my temple. He didn't drink. Anyway, he was a prick. He was a really awful, he was a horrible, he was angry, he was possessive, he was just horrible and superior. And I find that's the other thing, is they have this sort of overarching superiority because they're on deck with the whole I'm really spiritual and you're just, I don't know what you are. Anyway, so that had happened. So I thought, I wrote the character that my central character is called Cat, and I wrote him through it, and I just called him the hipster. I never gave him a name because I think he is a generic representation of so many men that have a spiritual mantle and a spiritual attitude, and they're just arrogant and awful. So I wrote that, and I wrote the chapters with a narrative, this story of the things that she has a meeting that goes badly, she goes away for a weekend that goes badly, and then we watch her decision making. And at the end of every chapter, I wrote a précis on the cognitive flaws that had driven her behavior, so that we could go, oh, I do that. I use confirmation bias. I use identity protective I fall prey to the argument from authority, so that instead of us just being at sea, women could actually, or people could read it and go, I recognize that thinking. This is what the thinking is called. This is this is what drives it, and I'm not alone. Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing. I think for people to know that these cognitive flaws that drive behavior are so common. And it's not our fault, because it's the way our brains are designed, and they're not designed to live in this highly complex environment where we've got information, a tsunami of information coming to us at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So no wonder we're at sea. So that was why I wrote the first one. And then I wrote the second one, Why Smart Women Buy the Lies, because I was so enraged by what happened during COVID and the scamming, the general environment of scamming and grifting and lying that I was seeing in the environment, and especially in the online environment. So I continued her story. She had a cat in the first book. I gave her a Groodle in the second book. I got her to break up with the horrible hipster and gave her an ordinary man who was just kind, but maybe didn't have the bells and the whistles and the spark and the psychopathy and the charisma of some of these men that tend to coerce us into these relationships. And I put her through a psychic experience where someone came in to clear the flats, and that's the second one. So it's the same woman, and she's in her mid-30s, and that's why I did it. That was my little contribution.
I love that format. And given what you've described, it sounds a little bit like, although this is a fictional character, you're writing a lot of yourself in your own experiences into this, right?
Yeah. It terrified my husband. It terrified my husband because he's like, am I the hipster? I'm like, no. You're not the hipster. You're the nice guy. You're the guy in the second book. But I had experience with narcissistic men and also my friends' experiences. I've written a wedding into it, and at the wedding, the hipster sticks his hand up the bride's dress and has a feel, and then denies it, because that's that gaslighting thing, right? Like, you're crazy, that didn't happen, which of course really screws with our brain, the whole gaslighting thing. And that actually happened to me at my wedding. Yeah, one of my friend's husbands was so drunk and sort of appalling, and he was a terrible narcissist, very good looking, that really charming, very good looking.
You can really get away with a lot when you're really good looking, it turns out.
Good looks it's just a big fat pass. We know that there's a big bias in the brain that we assume goodness with good looks,
the halo
and also
effect.
Uniformity of the face. If the face
and the reverse too, which is unfortunate for people who are not symmetric,
100%.
Right.
And we've got a really big bias around people that carry weight.
Yeah,
there's an erroneous assumption that if you are overweight, then your intellect is lower. And of course it's rubbish.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. There's a definite bias that if somebody is carrying too much weight, then there's one assumption that they're lazy, they're not trying hard enough, and that they're not that smart.
So one of your podcast episodes is actually Why Smart Women Don't Diet. So, was that about this?
Yes, absolutely. And I've written it in the first book. I wrote a chapter on how the character is caught up with this influencer, who is she's American. She's promoting a diet, and it's really I did write Americans in. I'm sorry about that. But she promotes this. She promotes this diet, which is all organic and clean eating. And of course, clean eating is it's all code for thin. So at the moment, we've got this thing about women don't need to be thin anymore. They need to be strong. It's still code for thin.
I saw it on a big billboard on the highway the other day. I don't remember what the company was, but it was Eat Clean, Bro. So it was targeted at men too.
Yeah, Eat Clean, Bro. What does that mean?
But do you even lift, bro?
Do you even lift, bro? So that whole notion of it's also so entitled that we can all go and, shop for organic, which is stupid in of itself. It means nothing. We can all go and shop for our organic things and grow our own things and raise our own chickens and slaughter them ourselves and don't eat any processed food. It's horrible because it's so entitled and it's sort of so upper middle class. If you're working class and you're struggling to keep your family together with a cost of living crisis, you're not going to be going and looking for, organic apples and raising your own chicken. You haven't got time.
I've actually talked to people who I know who feel guilty because they cannot afford to buy organic food. And so when their kid gets sick, they blame themselves.
No, see, It's terrible. Yep. It's the biggest con. It's just a great big con. Organics, it's like anti-GMO. GMO is awesome because it means we can use less pesticides. So it's just the brain has a big bias, the appeal to nature bias.
Yeah.
So organic, and the word clean is really pernicious, I think, especially for women. It's like I've got to be sort of clean and thin and pretty and, I don't know, look virginal, even if I'm not. I've just got to look all this because then I'm going to make my way and I'm going to be really, I'm going to make a really good partner. This is where the tradwife things come from. The tradwife thing is just terrible.
And this continues right into, middle age and older age too, where women are still going by these kind of systems that are saying, oh, you need to look thin and virginal and, whatever, like you're going to produce good children. And it's like, that's not going to happen. Why are we
such a good point.
Yeah.
The pressure. And I can tell you this because I'm a woman of a certain age, and especially coming from an acting background, the pressure on us is relentless. And I think that is why, to a large degree, we do turn towards wellness and the supplement industry because it makes so many erroneous promises. But because it's under the banner of the appeal to nature bias, we won't take a pharmaceutical, but I will go and take, I don't know what I'm taking, green-lipped muscle oil or something. And now we know that all these people are having liver problems and actually, losing their liver because they've got toxicity because it's unregulated.
So one of our recent guests, in fact, it's the last episode that got posted just this week. We had Kat McLeod talking about this kind of thing.
I know.
Personally, and you had her on your show, right?
I did.
Which actually, I was wondering, when I read in the bio the name Kat, I thought maybe you were referring to her in some way. But
no, because I only met her. I met her recently, but her story is just astonishing. 105 milligrams, isn't it, that she took of prednisolone a day. Now, I'm an asthmatic, and if I need, prednisone, I take a very small reducing dose because it's a fantastic drug, but it has terrible side effects, and it ruined her. It just ruined her, and there's no accountability around this entire industry that is now, it's taken over I know because I follow them all. For my sins, I have to watch all these influences, and honestly, it's very, very dangerous. Hence, we have to keep talking about it and talking about the biases that cause us to go, yes, that's a good idea, because you go to the doctor, you've got an issue, and they go, okay, I don't know what that is, but I'm going to test you. I'm going to run some tests, and it might be this or it might be that. Right? They're not certain because they have to actually use their medical training. Whereas you go to a naturopath or a homeopath, God help you, and they just take one look at you and they go, oh, I know what's wrong with you. You've got adrenal fatigue syndrome, which of course is made up. And not only can they diagnose within the first 5 minutes of meeting you, but they can also fix it. And
usually sell you the thing that can fix it, of course.
Sell you the thing. So, and they just grift. But I get it, because doctors are busy, and often they're not going to be able to spend a lot of time with you, and you might walk out feeling uncertain, whereas you walk into a naturopath or a homeopath or somebody selling you a bioresonance machine, whatever that is, and they're certain. And we know that the brain, we love certainty. We love argument from authority. We love that certainty. We're very, it makes us, it gives us a feeling of safety. So it's a tricky balance, is it not?
Yes. So by the way, I normally don't look at the YouTube comments while we're in Riverside here, but I have noticed that Kat McLeod is actually in watching this and commenting.
Oh my God. Hi, Kat.
And so is Susan Gerber.
Susan is here too.
Oh, yeah. Susan, hey. Yeah, well, she's Kat's the absolute specialist on what happens when you take unregulated supplements. And, of course, Susan is the queen of debunking the psychics. She's just the queen. Hi, guys.
Yes. I hope they'll stay for the hangout and we can chat.
We had her on talking about, her investigation of on TV psychic mediums, that sort of thing. So you had an episode saying, do the dead listen. So what did you do in that episode?
Who did I interview? Was it Susan?
I don't remember. I just looked at the title. I just
do the dead listen. Well, then we're back at that notion that
might have been Susan.
So, that incredibly terrifying notion that we can talk to the dead, but also they're sort of hovering around us, which I feel deeply is a distasteful idea. But yeah, I think Susan talks a lot about these people, these so-called psychics or mediums that suck in. I didn't know this until I talked to Susan, but they have whole sort of organizations or these groups in America where they suck people in by saying, I can talk to your dead husband or your dead child. And who doesn't want to? I get it. It's a terrible shock to the system, is it not? So we understand the drive behind wanting to talk, that it's not over. But if all it does is delay grief, because you actually can't grieve properly because there's still some notion that you're connected, that you still can talk to them. And, Susan talked about how you should get her back on. She's awesome. How they gather the information, Susan, and how they get you to tell them.
Yeah. I actually watched one of Susan's shows where she had Matt Fraser, and I think it was, I'm pretty sure that was one of the many times she was showing how his readings go on Zoom or some virtual media. And he was actually like changing the memories of the survivors about the dead person by saying, he had some drug addiction you didn't know about. I mean, things like that. It was like horrible.
So horrible. These people are horrible, and they should be debunked. But, Susan and Kat, they both do awesome work. But there's not enough of us, I don't think.
Yes, especially in the rise of healing. In the rise of social media, all right? You turn on TikTok and all you see are wellness influencers, people, saying that they have psychic powers and you can too, or people that channel dead people or aliens, by the way. It's quite nauseating.
Yeah. I'm a lizard person. I just hadn't mentioned that until now, but I am in fact a lizard person.
Oh, it's okay. So are we.
Are you? Okay. So we've got
wait, have we changed? I thought the term was reptilian. Are we calling?
Is that it?
I prefer reptilian. It makes me it just sounds a bit more sort of important.
Yes.
And of course, back to the notion of social media, in that, let's say prior to social media, you'd have some wacky idea like, I don't know, the Earth's flat or whatever.
That's a good example, because social media has boosted that a bazillion times.
It's given a big boost. But you'd go down to the pub and you'd go, "Hi, John, Terry, and Philip. Did you know that the Earth is flat?" and they'd go, "Get a grip on yourself, Tony." And then you'd have a couple more beers and probably you'd forget about it, and you might even go home and say to your wife, and she'd go, "You're an idiot. You've been drinking too much," or whatever. And that would be the end of it.
Yeah, because they would have mocked you, and that would have been the end of it. You're right.
They would have mocked you. But now you go, "The Earth's flat," and you type in "the Earth is flat," and there's, 700,000 people that go, "That's right, dude, it's flat." Mm-hmm. And they are lying to us. And I tell you what, they are very busy, because they're lying to you. They're up there. They're flying around in planes. They're
putting out chemtrails to try to make you think the Earth is a sphere.
Chemtrails. They're very busy. They're in Australia. Apparently, what they're doing is changing our weather. They are. It's not. It's nothing to do with global warming or climate change. No. What's happening is the government is changing our weather. And recently, they apparently caused bushfires.
Oh, that must be the Jewish space lasers.
The Jewish space lasers.
They caused California fires.
Those. Yes.
Oh, did they?
Oh, yeah.
See, they're busy. Yeah. I wonder if they sent that to Australia.
Yeah. So, by the way, this was one of the United States representatives in the House of Congress who first said that.
I know.
Yeah. It's really upsetting.
It's a bit scary.
And it really also, it highlights how so many times, I'm not necessarily going to say every time, but many times it seems like these conspiracy theories and these obviously false, or maybe not obviously false, but false beliefs end up, once you follow the rabbit hole down far enough, you end up at racism or sexism or misogyny or transphobia or something like that, where it's not harmless. It's not only false and leading you to believe something that's false, but it's targeting marginalized groups of people and making them scapegoats 100%. For these completely outrageous, nonsensical things that are not even happening.
We've now got, because we have a very high vaccination rate in Australia. So what's happened is our sort of febrile anti-vax groups have got a bit like nothing to do because we're pretty much vaccinated. And so where they've gone is they've taken a right turn, and they're now anti-mass immigration. And we had Australia Day yesterday, and what they had was these pathetic marches where they're like, keep it white. Everyone, they just sound like brown people. Yeah. And what's happened? So they've turned right, and they're against this mass immigration that's a fantasy. We don't have it. And then what's happened is the neo-Nazis have now attached themselves to these groups. So now we've got sort of these anti-vax sort of needing something to hate and say no to, which is now immigrants. And then you've got the neo-Nazis joining them. And it's luckily they're small, disparate groups, but it's really unattractive. I've got to tell you, it's not a good look.
Not a good look. And it kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier too, right? To kind of bring it back around to some of these kind of spiritual and supernatural beliefs. Sometimes it comes down to, we've got to make sure that people are committed to being part of our group, and you've got to be in this group. And one way that we do that is by making sure that everybody that's not in this group is bad and scary, and we don't want to be around them, and we need to all rally around. This is our group. You're in this team. You're on this tribe, whatever it is. And that's not just, that's a tool for organizing people socially. Yes, it is, but it's harmful. You're hurting people with that.
100% you're hurting people. I mean, can you imagine what it's like being an immigrant walking down, Hyde Park yesterday and coming across people with Keep Australia White? I mean, it's terrible. And that's not to mention the amount of damage they cause by not believing in COVID.
Right, exactly. This is not some amorphous, you hurt people by hurting their feelings kind of thing. This is actual harm that leads to people's death and disability.
100%. Because, and back to that notion of data versus anecdote, you've got Auntie Sally who just took St. John's wort and vitamin C and drank a lot of water or something, and she didn't get COVID. So if you just take enough vitamin C, you'll be fine. Don't get vaccinated, as opposed to data. And data is cold. You've got a scientist going, these are the stats that we're currently looking at, vaccinated versus unvaccinated. What's going to win? Auntie Sally's anecdote. Because that's the way, that's the way our brain goes.
And it's even more powerful sometimes if it's an actor who is a famous person that you really follow and appreciate.
Talking about Jenny McCarthy?
Yeah, might be.
Oh, no.
I don't know. We've had one. I'm not even going to mention her name. I was so furious. That came out recently, very well known, erroneously as per connecting autism to vaccines.
Oh,
how often?
Still doing it.
I have to say, it's got nothing to do with it. And also, how insulting that to people that are on the spectrum. That somehow they're wrong.
So you had an episode on this specific subject. Did you talk about that person?
Yes. I won't mention him.
All right. Well, you probably did on the episode, so I'm going to have to go listen to that one.
Yeah, go and have a listen to it. Yeah.
Vaccines do not cause autism, I think was the name. So, yes. Okay.
Oh, wow. How often? And yet she actually, and she's really beautiful. And back to that notion that it just doesn't help because we have a bias that somebody beautiful is telling us the truth. But she's older now, so that's one good thing. But she actually came out and said, well, if it's not the vaccines, then what is it? I'm like, what? Do you read anything? It's you're genetically predisposed. Like, what do you mean? What is it? But she was it's back to that notion of certainty. If I say something, especially with an actor's voice,
So at least in your country, it's just people in the entertainment industry. The head of one of our government agencies responsible for health believes that too.
I know. I'm so sorry about that. I don't.
We're sorry about that too.
I cannot. I don't. How did anyway? He's there, and he's saying a lot of very, very dangerous things. And the problem is that because your vaccination rates are dropping and there's an increase in these communicable diseases, it affects us. It affects everybody because people get on planes.
Yeah, we're getting measles outbreaks now.
We've had one here.
Oh no!
We had Dr. Andrea Lowe talking about this. Measles is one of the most communicable and dangerous diseases because it wipes out your immunity that you've built up over all time to other diseases as well.
I know it's the worst, but they've not. It's like, we've got this lunatic naturopath here. I don't know what she is, called Barbara O'Neill. And she's like, have a measles party and bring your kids over and get it.
What?
And just drink enough water. She's awful. And then put some onions. They strap onions onto their feet.
Well, is it caused by vampires now? Or I don't know, is that just garlic? What?
I don't know, but they just love a vegetable. So there's a lot of vegetables involved in strapping vegetables.
They're natural. Vegetables are natural. So.
It's natural. And she's like, it's like, have you heard of encephalitis?
Do you know the line from Gwyneth Paltrow actually said, nothing natural can hurt you?
Yes.
Okay.
I do. I spent a lot of time talking about goop.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think that was in response to like being worried about the sun and putting sunscreen on. No, the sun is natural. There's nothing that's natural.
It's natural. That's like, everything in diseases. I just want to say to them, so is, cancer, brown bears and tsunamis, but that appears to... Anyway, we're up against it, right?
We are right at the end, and it's time to go to questions.
Did we get questions? Because as you know, I do not look at the Zoom.
We've got a couple of questions, but before we go to that, I saw, Rob, you had highlighted a topic earlier that
Okay, so one more. I want to ask you specifically about one more of your episodes, which I did not listen to, but I saw the title and I have to ask you. 5 reasons smart women intimidate men.
Is that one of my episodes?
That's one of your episodes. Oh, it's too long ago. Okay.
Can you tell us any reasons that smart women intimidate men, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, we're back to that notion, aren't we? That if I'm a male and I am of a certain disposition, what I would like for you to be is compliant, and I would like you to accede to my authority. So I think that is intimidating. I think really women, highly educated women, that can be very intimidating, don't you think?
Yes.
And I guess I'm talking about a certain coterie of male. I'm not saying this is all men by any stretch of the imagination, but I think if you're educated,
not all men.
Not all men.
Hashtag not all men. But if you're educated, if you have good boundaries, if you have a good social network that can provide you with something outside the relationship, if you're able to hold your ground, and if you're not compliant, then these, I think, is very threatening. I think, my daughter is a lawyer, and it has been quite difficult for her to find somebody, I think. Mm-hmm. I think that intellectual women are quite intimidating. If what you want as a male is to be the dominant force in the relationship, and if you're not, if you're inclined in that direction, obviously if you're a very highly functional male like my husband, he likes the fact that I'm not a total idiot.
Because why would you want your partner to be a total idiot unless you had some kind of serious self-esteem problem happening? Why would that be beneficial to you in any way?
You just said it. And if what you want is to be the one that calls the shots, right? And you want to be able to mansplain, you want to be able to sit there with your legs apart, and explain the way the world is. Right? I've even had somebody, a male, I've written 2 books on critical thinking I've got a podcast on it. I had a mail say, try and explain confirmation bias to me. I was like, yeah.
The epitome of mansplaining.
Right. Let me explain to you about confirmation bias. Yes, please do, because I haven't got a clue. Thank you for speaking, you awesome male. That's why I think men get intimidated by something.
On behalf of the gender, I apologize.
My husband frequently apologizes as well. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of activity in the chats too along those same lines. It's definitely not all men, but it is a phenomenon that people are aware of.
It's enough.
Yes.
Enough.
Absolutely. Yep. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I have to read one of these. My best example of mansplaining was a random man arguing with me about bras.
Oh my goodness.
Bras.
Sir.
Oh, that's really good. That's right up there. Yeah,
the audacity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so shall we go to the Q&A?
Questions. Let's go to some questions.
Excuse me, Harry, can I have some more water, please? Thank you so much.
I love it. Okay, let's see what we've got. We've got just a couple of questions. Rob, do you want to pick one?
Okay, I'll read the first one. So someone in chat asked, do you think the people who recruit women into groups like these, I'm not sure which that was referring to.
I think that was around the time we were maybe talking about some of the wellness or cult.
All right. So do you think the people who recruit women into groups like these seek out women who have been raised in unsafe environments? And is that the lure that they are providing?
I don't think they seek them out. I think that women who have come from that sort of background are more vulnerable to the offering. And that once they are in the group, then they start to be provided with a sense of sort of ballast that they perhaps didn't have before. I definitely think if you come from a certain background, you're more likely, or they do know that the idea that they had with cults was that only the disenfranchised and the sort of isolated were attracted to them is not true. People that are attracted to cults are more likely to have, I'm so sorry.
No problem.
That's okay. We were promised a brutal appearance at the beginning of the program.
Yo, shush. Now they're both gone off. I think that they know. So sorry. They know that you are more likely to be attracted to a cult if you have a trusting nature and a high optimism bias. So it's not as simple as you would think.
Have you seen so there's a series on Netflix called How to Become a Cult Leader? Have you seen that?
No, it sounds awesome though.
Oh my God. It was quite a little bit tongue in cheek, but also serious. There's 6 or so episodes. Each one started with the Manson cult and winds up with Reverend Sun Myung Moon. So they increased the size, but they basically was what are the properties of someone who becomes a cult leader and can attract the following, but it also showed the type of personality that is likely to become a cult member. And it is quite informative if one is a young person and thinking about joining a cult, I'd say.
Yeah. And, of course, we know that charisma in terms of being a leader of a cult or an organization, that highly charismatic individuals, because of the brain bias around the appeal to authority, cut through your critical thinking. So somebody that's very, very charismatic and says things in a really certain way and also looks at you in a way like you're amazing and you deserve to be, part of this, is going to have more cut through. So it's interesting. It's very, very interesting in terms of brain bias.
One of the properties I remember from that was that you have to say whatever you say with a surety, no question that it's true.
Certainty and assuredness is absolutely their stock in trade. Whereas people that go, I don't know, I'm not sure. And the more, very intelligent people are more likely to go, I don't know, and be open to a new possibility and be open to learning. You know, so somebody very smart is more likely to sound uncertain than someone who's just got that. It's that you know, that way of speaking, and it makes people feel safe. I've arrived. I'm home. Someone's looking after me. Yeah. I hope that answered that question.
Yeah.
No, I think it did. Yeah. So we've got one other question, and I love the way this question was phrased. I think it's a play on one of the terms that you used earlier. Someone is asking, is it still considered hyperactive detective agency, which I love, when we turn it onto other humans, like living humans, not ghosts, to the point of villainizing people or creating beef, I guess by assuming agency or intent, perhaps, when maybe none is there?
I think if you're talking about a person, then you get into primary attribution bias. So when I make a decision, I am aware of the milieu, of the environment that I'm operating out of. So if I'm late, just a very, very simple example, if I'm running late, I'm aware that, you know, the dogs wouldn't stop barking, and then I couldn't find my car keys, and there was trouble on the highway, and I will excuse my behavior because of that. Primary attribution error is where if you are late, it is a character failing. So you don't understand the context in which people are operating. You're not inside their life. So we just constantly, it's a character failing, whereas I am forgiving towards myself because I understand the context of my existence. So that's what I think, if that makes any sense.
It definitely does. And I love how many different kind of psychological concepts and cognitive biases and logical fallacies we've gone over tonight, just as a course. You know, in the course of talking about all of these things, you are clearly very well read in these topics. And I think you've really pointed out, just like you do in your books, all these ways where these are things that pop up in our everyday lives that we should be aware of happening all the time.
They do. And look, the reason, I mean, it's pretty much, it's been my focus for a decade. So I've just immersed myself in it. You know, there's many things that I do really, really badly. I cannot, for instance, I don't understand north and south, so don't ask me where I'm facing. My brain is just freezes on some areas. You know, I've got no sense of direction. So I guess it's just where it's been my focus, because I truly believe that if we had better understanding of critical thinking and cognitive biases, then we wouldn't be in the position that we are in socially, culturally, and politically, because we wouldn't be so vulnerable to our own brain biases and flaws. So that's why I keep going with it, and I will continue to keep going with it, although I meant to write a third book, but I lost interest about halfway, and now I'm just writing a novel. I'm writing a novel.
Well, yeah. I'm excited for that. You have to let us know when that comes out.
I've got it. I'll tell you. It's around wild people that go for what they call wild births. So you birth your baby with no medical practitioners near you, including a midwife. You just have a doula who just waves some crystals over you and, I don't know, chants or something. Because birth is natural and nothing ever, like I'd be dead, everyone would be dead around me if we didn't have medical intervention. But it's a very strong, this flavor that runs through these communities, these spiritual communities, and women and babies keep dying.
Yeah. Wow. So that's terrifying.
I'll let you know.
Yes, please do. I want to read it when it comes out. And on that note, don't forget to check out Annie's other two books. I'm going to drop them again in the chat. It's Why Smart Women Make Bad Decisions and Why Smart Women Buy the Lies. And then the podcast is Why Smart Women podcast. So check out all of those. I'll drop those again. And thank you so much for joining us today, Annie, and sharing your insights with us. This was so much fun, and we learned a lot.
Good. I'm totally in admiration of the work that you do and the reach of your organization, because clearly there's a massive need. So just kudos to you guys. I think it's amazing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for helping us out by appearing as a guest.
Yes.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. I'll go about my day now. It's only lunchtime here.
Yeah. Well, I hope you'll stay for the hangout if you have time.
I will.
Excellent.
I might have to get a cup of tea.
Absolutely fine. We'll wrap up and head that way. And Rob, what do we have up next week?
Well, next week we have Dr. Aaron Adair, which I am looking forward to. He's been all over the ACA shows and the line. He's very informative on both science and religion, and his topic is going to be thinking scientifically about science and religion. And then after that, we have Linda Hamilton, and hopefully we don't have a T-1000 show up to try to assassinate. Oh, no, it's a different Linda Hamilton. Nothing to do with Terminator. Erica, also that's Gutsa Gibbon, by the way, is coming back. She did a well-received talk on human evolution, but this time we're just going to interview her. And also Objectively Dan, which I don't believe has been on the show previously.
I am excited for Objectively Dan.
So for more information, about Recovering from Religion and to access our other resources, visit our website at recoveringfromreligion.org, where you can get in touch with volunteers on a 24/7 helpline. That might be me. You can attend a support group. You can pursue our online resources, peruse our online resources. You can visit our blog. You listen to the podcast or get connected with a licensed mental health care professional. We actually have licensed therapists who can support you if you need such help. And thanks to Nikki from across the pond, the ACA's fan-run Discord server live streams this show on the atheist community of Discord. And you can get there directly by going to tiny.cc/ACD Discord.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And don't forget to follow us on all of the rest of the social medias. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and of course, YouTube, where some of you may be joining us tonight. So check us out there. I've dropped the link tree in the chat, and just search Recovering from Religion, and you will find us on all of those spaces. And don't forget to check out the playlist of previous RFRX episodes. We are getting close to our 300th episode, which will occur soon. So we'll have to figure out a way to celebrate that. But there's so many prior episodes going over other topics that may be of interest. So check those out if you want to get more RFRX.
And now it's a little confusing. We should somehow work that in there, that we have two playlists with RFRX episodes, right? We have the recent live streamed ones, which are in a separate area from the older ones.
Yes, our older ones are on the RFRX playlist on YouTube, but if you want to watch a live episode that's happened within the last couple of months, those are still in our live tab on YouTube, and you can just catch those if you missed one of the recent ones. They're all there. That's right. Okay, and what else, Rob?
And lastly, we want everyone to know that Recovering from Religion is staffed entirely by volunteers. We get no atheist money here or any other money. And we have learned that personal healing can result from helping others to heal. So if you're so inclined and in a position to do so, we'd love for you to join our team. To apply to be a volunteer, fill out the form on our main page. There's a volunteer tab right there. And speaking of volunteers, please check out the new playlist on Recovering from Religion's YouTube channel, which is called RFR Deconstruction Stories. I've been producing those, and each of the now 12 episodes features an interview with a volunteer sharing their own deconversion, deconstruction journey. Episodes include some folks that viewers of RFRX may be familiar with, including Cara and Gail, who has just joined us.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for doing that, Rob. Those are great episodes. And with that, let's introduce Gail to wrap us up for the evening. Our fabulous executive director is here to give us some closing thoughts. Gail, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Annie, what a wonderful presentation. It is just fascinating. As I was listening to it, when we think about the Venn diagram of people who have been harmed by religious beliefs and practices and communities, and people who have been harmed by these predatory institutions that, take advantage of their good nature, all those things. And I think that the intersection is this need to develop critical thinking skills and this need for discernment and all those kinds of things. And it also got me to thinking that as people are defensive about life choices they've made in the early stages of trying to figure out what they believe, I think that the folks who are coming from the religious side might be more receptive to stories about coming from the skeptic side and hearing about these, multi-level marketing institutions that take advantage of people. And on that side, they might be more receptive to stories about people coming in from the religious side. And it lets them lower their defenses a little bit. And then as we help them see that and process that and help them develop their critical thinking skills, they can begin to apply it to the areas that they've been defensive about. Anyway, my mind was going kind of wandery while you were presenting.
Great point.
That was wonderful. Right? Yes. Well, I hope that you'll consider joining us again. I certainly hope you'll join us in the Hangout. We have several folks from our Australia version of RFR who would love to be able to chat with you in the Hangout. So I hope you can join us there, even if for just a short time. Everyone else, thank you for coming. Thank you for the in front of the scenes and the behind the scenes folks that make this look as smooth as silk whenever, as the expression goes, we're paddling like hell under the surface. So thank you to everybody. Thank you for coming. Hope to see you in the Hangout.
Thanks, Gail. Thanks, everyone. And that wraps up this episode of RFRX, your weekly reminder that recovery is a journey best shared. We'll see you next time, same channel, same prescription, and come join us in the...
Thanks for tuning into Why Smart Women with me, Annie McCubbin. I hope today's episode has ignited your curiosity and left you feeling inspired by my anti-motivational style. Join me next time as we continue to unravel the fascinating layers of our brains and develop ways to sort out the fact from the fiction and the over 6,000 thoughts we have in the course of every day. Remember, intelligence isn't enough. You can be as smart as paint, but it's not just about what you know, it's about how you think. And in all this talk of whether or not you can trust your gut, if you ever feel unsafe, whether it's in the street, at work, car park, in a bar, or in your own home, please respect that gut feeling. Staying safe needs to be our primary objective. We can build better lives, but we have to stay safe to do that. And don't forget to subscribe, rate and review the podcast and share it with your fellow smart women and allies. Together, we're hopefully reshaping the narrative around women and making better decisions. So until next time, stay sharp, stay savvy, and keep your critical thinking hat shiny. This is Annie McCubbin signing off from Why Smart Women. See you later. This episode was produced by Harrison Hess. It was executive produced and written by me, Annie McCubbin.